In the heart of Enugu, a city that buzzed with the pulse of ambition and the echo of ancestral whispers, a boy named Obinna MBA was born during a rare lunar eclipse in 1997, an event the elders of Ogwinike would later whisper about as a divine mark of return. Obinna's birth was ordinary to his parents, Ngozi and Ebuka, civil servants with dreams stitched neatly into salary slips, but to the Onishi, the eldest man in the kindred, and Dibia Oku, the revered native doctor of the land, it was the dawn of a prophecy long buried in palm wine god and kola nut chants. From infancy, Obinna exhibited traits that unnerved even the strongest of skeptics. At 2, he would mutter ancient proverbs not taught in school or heard in his home. By 3, he corrected a masquerade performer's flawed dance during the New Yam festival with the confidence of a seasoned Ozo title holder. By 4, he once cried uncontrollably when the statue of his MBA, a long-dead warrior king, was moved from its shrine to make space for a supermarket. "You are disrespecting me," he had wailed. Initially, his parents attributed it to imagination or spiritual sensitivity, until an old widow named Momankechi fainted upon seeing him at a community meeting, swearing she had seen her late husband, Ogwefai Anechib, the great diviner of Umukpu, in the boy's eyes. It was then the whispers began. People started visiting Obinna secretly, some for blessings, others for ancestral messages, and the boy, only 6, began solving disputes between elders with wisdom that could not have come from cartoons or schoolbooks. But it wasn't until he turned 11 that the full truth began to unravel like the sacred white cloth covering the Ofo staff. One Harmattan evening, as he walked home from his secondary school in New Haven, he felt a strange pull. His feet led him, not home, but to the Enwo pine forest, where he found himself before a massive stone covered in CBD symbols. There, he collapsed and had a vision, a vast gathering of ancestors in full regalia sitting in a circular council, led by a man in crimson and ivory, wearing the dual crowns of both spiritual and earthly leadership. The man said, "Obinna, you have returned not by accident, but by duty. You are Liz Nono, the bridge between worlds. Remember who you are." When Obinna awoke, his tongue was fluent in ancient Igbo dialect no longer spoken, and his eyes shimmered with a haunting knowingness. The Dibia Oku, after performing a series of divinations and consulting the sacred tortoise shell, confirmed what the vision revealed. Obinna was the reincarnation of East Daikyogu MBA, a pre-colonial king and spiritual warrior who led his people against British incursion in 1901 and vanished during the final battle after swearing he would return when his people needed him most. The signs matched: the crescent birthmark on Obinna's chest, the lunar eclipse, his uncanny wisdom, and his link to ancient symbols. The revelation changed everything. News spread beyond Enugu. Radio shows, bloggers, and even university scholars came to investigate. Some dismissed it. Superstition, others embraced it with fervor. But Obinna remained humble, often retreating to the quiet of books, helping classmates, or tutoring orphan children in Uwani. As he grew into a teenager, the city around him evolved too. Enugu had taken on a more cosmopolitan glow, tech hubs sprang up in Independence layout, art galleries bloomed like hibiscus in Accra layout, and the Afrobeat rhythm of Fino and flavor echoed in every Kiki Nepep. But Obinna lived in 2 worlds by day, a brilliant student and aspiring architect at ESUT by night, a spiritual intermediary helping broken souls reconnect with ancestral wisdom. He wore jeans and sneakers but spoke with the poise of a royal court. One unforgettable incident occurred in his second year at university. A construction company had bribed the local government to destroy a sacred grove to build luxury flats. Activists protested, but it was Obinna who walked into the clearing, placed his palm on the last standing Iroko tree, and began to chant in the ancient tongue. The wind howled, lightning danced across the dry sky, and suddenly the earth trembled, not violently, but enough to crack open a hidden tunnel beneath the grove. Archaeologists who later investigated found relics of the lost NR priesthood and confirmed the site as one of the oldest spiritual centers in southeastern Nigeria. The company backed off, and the site was declared a National Heritage Center. From then on, many began to call Obinna not just a reincarnated soul, but a living oracle, a phrase that made him uncomfortable, preferring to be seen as a servant of light. Obinna's journey wasn't without trials. With visibility came envy. Some church leaders labeled him a heretic. One pastor even tried to cast the spirit out of him during a televised program, only to faint mid-prayer. He was invited by a Lagos-based megachurch for a public deliverance, but he respectfully declined. There's no demon to cast out when you carry the light of those before you, he told them. His family, too, had to adjust. His father, once skeptical, became his biggest protector. His mother would often say, "My son, you're not just mine, you belong to time." In 2021, he led a youth initiative called Roots in the Future, combining Igbo cosmology with urban development, teaching students in Enugu and Onitsha how to draw city plans inspired by ancient Igbo town layouts, circular compounds, community centers, and shared farmlands. He argued that sustainable African development had to be rooted in our own spiritual and social philosophies. The program earned him an invitation to speak at the University of Nairobi and later at the Pan-African Spirituality Conference in Addis Ababa, where he stunned scholars with his lecture The Ancestor in the Self, Reincarnation as Urban Memory. But despite his rising fame, Obinna always returned to Ogwinaki during IRIG festival, sitting among the elders, breaking kola, and listening more than he spoke. In 2023, during the burial of the Onishi, a rare event happened. As custom demanded, the successor must be chosen by ancestral direction, usually revealed through divination and dreams. But during the final rite, as the white rooster circled the shrine and the gong sounded thrice, the dibia collapsed, muttering Obinna's name repeatedly. When revived, he said the spirits had spoken. Obinna, though young, was the chosen voice not as Onishi, but as Okunono, the speaker of the ancestral truth for the living generation. The Council of Elders, after initial resistance, eventually accepted, marking the first time in living memory that someone under 30 was given such a sacred mantle. And so, Obinna walked forward, bare-chested, red cloth tied at his waist, holding the staff of voice, and declared, "I have come again, not to rule, but to remind us of who we are." That year, more young people began learning Igbo, embracing ancestral names, and reconnecting with forgotten traditions.